What's going on YouTube? It's Texans Takeover back in another video. In today's video, I have a Senior Bowl based 7 round mock draft for the Houston Texans. So 7 round mock draft like usual. I'm not going to do any trades in this one though. I'm just going to be doing the usual picks that the Houston Texans do have, which is 28, 38, 59, 69, 106, 128, 165, 243, and 244. And I feel like this is the perfect start. You have one in the Senior Bowl staying that's right there available to you at 28 in Caleb Banks, a redshirt senior who is 6'6", 330. Very powerful hands, and really showed out in the Senior Bowl. Really dominant in the run game. Very good as a pass rusher too with that swim and club move. And let's just say if he gets his hands on you, you're pretty much screwed as an interior offensive lineman. Arms are huge, hands are powerful, has tons of length to him, has tons of agility to him as well. Very good athleticism for the frame that he does possess, and such long arms too. Could maybe even line up at the 9 potentially in the NFL with how athletic he is, but I definitely think he'll be an interior defensive lineman, maybe in the 3-eye or the 4 tech or sorry 3-eye. I think is what you'd like to see out of Caleb Banks in the NFL, which I think he could definitely do, and he should certainly do that in Houston. And that's going to be my first round pick here at 28. Perfect that the board fell to me this way, in my opinion. My recording corrupted, so there is that, but I'm glad I didn't pick anyone, and Caleb Banks was just available to me there at 28. Colton Hood does go there at number 35, and other than that, um, in the Senior Bowl, or yeah, Senior Bowl. Sorry, I don't know why I was just completely messing up my words there, but there's a lot of guys in this particular event. Um, but there's only a select few that showed out and truly fit with the Houston Texans. One of those guys is Jake Slaughter right there. Keelan Rutledge, another one. In terms of the offensive tackles, I thought Jennings Dunker had a great Senior Bowl too, but most likely to play guard. Maxine Atcher also had a great Senior Bowl as an offensive tackle. So obviously, with the Houston Texans, you're gonna have to reach at some spots, just because there's not all the picks available to you. And I think at 38, I'm going to go with one of the guys that showed out on or technically as a tackle, but I think will be a guard in the NFL, and that's going to be Jennings Dunker for me at number 38. Someone that's gone here early in these mock drafts, as Ian Atcher goes right there at 58. Another standout, and Derek Moore goes there at 54. Chris Johnson looked great too, went at 50. Yakas, who looked great, and Zion Young go at 44 and 45 respectively. But I really like the idea of Jennings Dunker as a Houston Texan to potentially play guard for us. So that is another one off the board. You can see two interior players, one offensive lineman, one defensive lineman. And here at 59, I think this is going to be another offensive lineman. I think I'm going to pull the trigger on Mr. Jake Slaughter, who had another very solid Senior Bowl. One of the best interior offensive linemen in this class, in my opinion, just been solid for a multitude of years now, and really led that offensive line throughout the practice week, in my opinion. Him, Dunker, Ian Atcher out of Arizona State, who went there at 58, were all great. Other than that, you had guys like sorry, there are more guards that look great. Keelan Rutledge looked great. Logan Jones looked great. Other than that, Logan Taylor wasn't bad. Brockermeyer was not bad either. I just don't think he possesses, the weight that you need at a true center. Hecht looked great throughout this week. Someone that I was super pleased with. And then Jeremiah Wright looked very decent as well. I think someone you can consider later in the rounds with such a good frame at the guard position. But here at 69, another guy that looked great at the Senior Bowl would be, as we scroll down, Dennis Sutton looked great, and I think you could utilize that versatility. But to me, I'm going to go Jacob Rodriguez here at 69. Just absolutely killed the Senior Bowl there at that linebacker position. Made a lot of turnover-worthy plays, turned the ball over a couple times as well. You can see how well he graded out this year as a true linebacker. I don't know if you consider him undersized, but super athletic and super, turnover heavy, able to turn the ball over for you at that linebacker position. And I think teams are going to rave over Jacob Rodriguez there at the draft process. So I'm definitely pleased with getting him there at 69. And some other guys like Seth McGowan who look decent, Malachi Fields look decent as well, go there. Um, but here at 106, I do think it is going to be running back for me. Tyron Montgomery is there at wide receiver. I really actually want to pick him just because of how good he looked. And you know what? Who's stopping me? Who is stopping me from taking Albert Reed, or not Albert Reed, excuse Tyron Montgomery here at 116? I think that's such a fun pick. I think he really showed out this week, and I'd love the idea of bringing him along to the Houston Texans. I think that could be a really good fit here. As an RB6, as you know, or not an RB, a wide receiver six, but someone that can climb up the draft position or the depth chart, excuse me, as his career does go along. But Clark does go there. Keelan Rutledge goes at 116, someone that I do really like for the Texans as well. But I think you draft guard and uh, center there in this draft, so I don't think you really need another guard. But I would love the idea of Keelan Rutledge here, someone that I've raved about throughout this Senior Bowl because he's looked great. Bud Clark looked especially great today, as well. Definitely increased his draft stock. Grayson Holton looked decent as well. Um, and that leads me to my pick here at 128, where I think Tim Keenan, excuse me, looked very decent. I think Michael Taft looked decent, and you can consider safety, so it's not really a bad spot for him. But I think the idea of Mike Washington just really, opens my eyes, and I think he looked great throughout the Senior Bowl week. Just a huge back that's going to be uber productive in any offense he goes to, so I think that's an easy pick here. As did my draft just freeze? Yeah, I believe it did. That's not great. Well, I think I'll be able to recreate all my picks. Um, but yeah, my draft just froze, so I don't really know what to do about that. Gonna try to recreate this and then get back to y'all, but that's probably the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. Okay, I think we're back. I had to do some weird things to get Caleb Banks because he kept going. So I traded C.J. Stroud to the Dallas Cowboys in this one to be able to get Caleb Banks at 12, but just ignore that. We had him at 28, and the draft decided to screw me over. But we made all our picks, and here we are back here at 128, going with Michael Washington Jr., who I just talked about, and hopefully able to get past this point, which we are. So perfect. We're back on pace. You know, Talking about Mike Washington Jr. just looked great throughout the week. You can see the size that he possesses. You can see the production that he's had. The 6.5 yards per carry, I'll give it to him. 6.4 in a technicality, but I'll give him the 6.5 as Logan Jones goes there at 164. Another player that looked great throughout the Senior Bowl. Ted Hurst as well. Other than that, we're looking at Nadame Tucker, who is one of the best throughout this week, in my opinion. Um, Rutledge again, who I talked about, looked great. Tim Keenan wasn't bad either. Bo Stevens was great. I think definitely influenced or positively influenced his draft stock throughout this week. All the Iowa offensive linemen look excellent. Logan Jones, Jennings Dunker, who I selected, and Mr. Bo Stevens up there, I think, had a heck of a week after not being projected to go high at all. Here at 165, though, I think this is perfect that Tanner Koziel's here. I think he showed out at tight end this week, a guy that I've raved through this entire draft process, and I think could be a very influential piece for the Texans if we were able to get him. And at 165, I think it'd require a little bit of a trade up, or you take him with 128 or 106. But yeah, I think Tanner Koziel's a special player with a special frame. Excuse me. Really great receiving ability. You can see 74 receptions, 727 yards. Those 74 receptions led all of college football, and you can see the receiving grade's probably the best out of any tight end this season. So there's that with Tanner Koziel. Just really love the player that he is, and if he can develop as a blocker, then you have one of the best tight ends in the league. So really love that fit there. Here at 243, I'm going to go with Luke Altmaier. One of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback throughout this past week. I think Cole Payton and him were definitely a 1A, 1B in terms of who is the best. Obviously, Cole Payton looked great with North Dakota State. Um, every quarterback seemingly does that they do have in comparison to the other talent in the FCS. But Luke Altmaier just won every year that he was in college football. Looked great throughout this past week, able to make every throw on the field that he needed to, and I think really showed out. And the quarterbacks, Sawyer Robertson looked great. He looked smooth as a quarterback. Diego Pavia didn't even look bad either. To give him some credit there as well. And here at 244 to close out this draft, let's see who is there. Mason Rieger had a decent week if you want to go with the edge there. VJ Payne was there making a couple plays at safety. Um, anyone in particular. Nwakpa had a very solid Senior Bowl as well. I really like the idea of a Bryce Foster out of Kansas too, with how he looked this week. Dean Connors looked great in the Shrine Bowl. But I'm going to close it out with Jeremiah Wright out of Auburn. I think I'll give it to him because of that rep he had against LT Overton on the first day of Senior Bowl practice. But obviously, this is not going to grade out well. They have Jennings Dunker as an F. I don't think that's necessarily an F pick. You can see CJ Stroud's now a Dallas Cowboy. Um, but they do really like our late round picks that we did go with. Overall, we got to see. I thought this was very fun to do, though. I really love the idea of including these Senior Bowl guys in my draft process. Ignore this Caleb Banks. You definitely saw this earlier on where I was able to get Caleb Banks at 28. I just wanted to ensure I got him and not have to redo this multiple times because I know there's been some mock drafts where Caleb Banks goes 14, he goes 18, he goes 16, all around the board you see Caleb Banks go. So I just wanted to ensure I got him, so I traded 28 in CJ Stroud. Doesn't really matter. The actual haul that we did get was these 5 guys from or 6 guys from 12 to 128 in my first draft before it just randomly got stuck. And then we add Koziel, Altmaier, and Wright to this class, which I think is a great class overall. I'm super happy by it. I'd be pumped if we were able to get this class in through the draft. I'd like maybe a Keelan Rutledge, maybe at 106 or 128 if you're able to get him. And then obviously address back at one of those positions rather than a Tyron Montgomery potentially. But yeah, I love the way this draft panned out. I think Tyron Montgomery had to be a draft pick just because of how well he performed this week at the wide receiver position. But let me know what y'all think about this draft down in the comment section below. Had a lot of fun doing this. I think I might do another one sometime soon. But yeah, let me know what y'all think. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, subscribe. And as always, it's Texans Takeover, and I'm out. Thanks again for watching. Peace out. Have a good one.